Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. Great to have you along today. 6:32 a.m., Wednesday, July the 30th. I've got my big blue mug of coffee waiting to go back upstairs to get another mug, which I really need right now. I'm giggling because I want to talk to Danielle Smith today. I've got a question of the Premier. I've started this video 15 times over the last hour or so, and I finally decided I'm going to be quite succinct and ask a question of the Premier directly in just a moment. Okay, I'll get to that in a moment. A couple of things to follow up on. You might remember early July, I sent an email to the Chief Electoral Officer of Alberta, Gordon McClure, regarding this ridiculous question that former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk wants to put forward here on a referendum in Alberta. Do you want to Alberta should remain in Canada question. I asked a bunch of questions of the Chief Electoral Officer and I got a reply. So I'm going to do a video on that. So I'll have that for you later. I also want to touch on this very quickly. From last night, the by-election debate in Battle River Crowfoot. Poilievre, by far the most impressive person on the stage. 9 people there. He was right in the middle. Other people had some interesting things to say. I didn't watch the whole debate. Go elsewhere for analysis. But what I got out of this and what this article says is Poilievre stressing that he can represent the local riding by being a strong voice and being the leader of a party, a national leader. In Ottawa, he also talked a lot about negative immigration, as did other people on the stage. Now, as far as the person that the left are putting their money on, Bonnie Critchley, I heard Ms. Critchley, or however she identifies, a number of times, and I'm not very impressed. I used to be a moderator of debates. I've done a lot of them, and Bonnie Critchley is the type of person who shows up who uses a lot of words but says absolutely nothing about the issues. That's who Bonnie Critchley is. The only reason the left likes Bonnie Critchley is because they hate Pierre Poilievre. That's the only reason. Poilievre should win this easily. We need his voice back in Ottawa. It's going to be great to see him in the House of Commons in question period up against Mark Carney. Now, as far as Danielle Smith goes, Premier Smith, why don't you lead the independence movement here in Alberta? I'm asking you to lead the independence movement here in Alberta. It was, almost 5 months ago that you asked a bunch of things of Mark Carney and the Liberal government. And you gave a 6-month timeline. Here's an article right here that takes us back to March the 21st. Smith firm of demands tossed, Alberta could hold a referendum. We're jumping ahead a few steps, but let's give you the play. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has 9 demands, 9 U-turns she wants the federal government to take. She gives the new federal government, when it's elected, 6 months to move on these issues. And of course, we've mentioned it here many times before: tanker ban, pipeline ban, free speech for oil and gas companies, EV mandates, emission caps. All of these things are demands she made of Mark Carney, and he's done none of them. Now, Danielle, you don't need my advice. You're a very smart person, and I admire you. When I was out in Airdrie at an independence meeting a few weeks back, a month ago, I guess it's so, it was mentioned there by people on stage that we admire you. We like you. We think you're trying to do what's best for Alberta, but you're not going to get what you want. You have fools to the left of you and jokers on the right. And I'm not talking about the ideological left and right. I'm talking about in the country. If you look at the map, you got fools to the left of us. We've got fools to the right. You've got Tim Houston tweeting this out just the other day. Tim Houston, by the way, he's the Premier of Nova Scotia, and this is what they're about. This is on the right on the map, if you're looking at it. Our government announced a major update on our development of offshore wind. It's more than a milestone, it's a turning point. He talks about becoming a clean energy superpower. On the right of you as well, you've got Wab Canoe. Here's the picture of you and Scott Moe and Doug Ford. He's not there because he doesn't want oil and gas pipelines, and he's using the Aboriginals as this excuse. You've got Mark Carney. We know what he's about. He doesn't want oil and gas pipelines. He's providing the excuses to people because he wants a consensus. The provinces can say no. The Aboriginals can say no. You've got David Eby to the left of you, who does not want an oil pipeline. He himself also talks about becoming a green energy superpower. Why don't you just join the independence movement, Premier Smith? You were sworn in way back in June of 2023 after winning the election. Let's just hear a little bit of what you said on the day you were sworn in and what you said you would do on behalf of the people of Alberta.
Well, Your Honor, newly sworn in ministers, honored guests, We are at a momentous point in Alberta's history. Today marks the start of an exciting future, one that will unfold over the next 4 years. This new cabinet is ready and willing to roll up its sleeves to take clear and decisive action to achieve our promises and commitments to Albertans. Working as a team, we will govern for everyone in the province. We will build on a solid foundation of stability, informed decision-making, and good governance. And we will do our best for the people of this province, always and everywhere.
The best for the people of this province right now, Madam Premier, is to get out, because we're not going to get what we want. There are those people who say, well, if you leave, you won't get what you want either. But yes, we will, because we will have the power of the province, and we can cut the rest of the country off from what they truly want from Alberta, and it's our money. There's this article here from CTV News that went up yesterday. Alberta's premier request for separation referendum question approved, rebuffed. Alberta's chief electoral officer is rebuffing calls from Premier Danielle Smith and her justice minister to reverse course and sign off on a proposed referendum question on separation. It's being held up right now. Gordon McClure, who I mentioned earlier, who I sent that email to earlier this month, has sent this to a court to see if it falls within the Clarity Act. Now, the Alberta Prosperity Project says they're going to fight back against this. They'll go to court if it isn't okayed. Here's Mickey Amery. Mickey Amery, right here, is the Minister of Justice. This is what Mickey Amery had to say. Response to citizen initiative process. The recently passed amendments to the Citizen Initiative Act are intended to be broadly permissive and to allow Albertans the opportunity to launch a referendum petition without needless bureaucratic red tape or court applications slowing the process. As it is the government of Alberta that ultimately decides how or if to implement any referendum result. Those government decisions will ultimately be subject to constitutional scrutiny. We encourage Elections Alberta to withdraw its court reference and permit Albertans their democratic right to participate in the citizen initiative process. And then Danielle Smith followed this up saying, although I believe in Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada, I just don't understand that. Minister Mickey Amery is right. Albertans have a democratic right to participate in the citizen initiative process. They shouldn't be slowed down by bureaucratic red tape or court applications. Maybe, Premier Smith, we should look at what you say here a little differently. Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada. Let the rest of them unite. Let's become our separate country. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. We're not going to get what we want. It's quite clear. Bill C-5 is a stalling tactic. You were on with David Cochrane the other day, and he talked to you about this. You want to see an oil and gas pipeline at the top of the list for these national projects that Mark Carney and the Liberal Party are going to decide on. But as I said earlier, he's providing all the excuses not to build pipelines. And this is what you had to say to Mr. Cochrane on the CBC.
The focus right now is on getting C5 to work by building the social license, particularly with the national Indigenous groups. That seems to be the focus rather than changing the regulations. It may be the first wave of projects comes out before they do anything with the regulations. Can you live with that? Because I know this has been a real political flashpoint between you and the federal government. And I based on what they say about wanting projects that are high chance of success and lots of support, I don't know if a pipeline is going to get there by the fall when it starts.
I can tell you that Alberta, as the owner of the resource, we can be one of the guaranteed shippers on that line.
Sure.
And that's what we did an announcement with Enbridge in January, saying that we're prepared to do that. And we are prepared to do that. And so if we have to help to underwrite a proposal in that way by guaranteeing barrels so that others in the industry are able to have the confidence, that's normally the way pipelines get built, is they line up the producers first. And so the problem that we have is that the producers aren't going to line up as long as there's an emissions cap that would require them to curtail their production.
So the sequencing, though, becomes a problem, right, for you and to meet the demands of the letter you sent.
Which is why I'm asking for those 9 bad laws to be either substantially modified or repealed.
You continue to beg for a pipeline, Madam Premier. You've got clowns to the left of you. You've got clowns to the right. And here we are in Alberta, stuck in the middle with you. Why don't you just join the independence movement? You'd be the leader of a new country. Alberta would become prosperous. You do what you swore to do back in 2023 to do the best for the people of Alberta. Why not just lead the independence movement? Because you're not going to get what you want. You do understand that. I know you understand that. And what are you going to do in September when your 6 months are up? What are you going to do? I'd like somebody to ask you the question. Let me take you over to this right here. Here's Jeff Rath. I want to get Jeff back on here to talk about how much better off Albertans would be. But here's Jeff Rath. My question for AB Danielle Smith, that's the Premier, and all of her sovereign Alberta within the United Canada stuff is, why does Danielle Smith want to keep Albertans chained to the rotting corpse of Canada? You swore to do what's best for Albertans when you were sworn in 2023, Premier Smith. Why don't you just join the independence movement and we can leave? And you could be the face of the independence movement. I think we'd have a good chance of winning. You seem to be pretty much on our side anyway. That's all I got to say. Premier Smith, thank you so much for your time. Thanks to everybody for their time. What do you think? If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for notifications. Grab your big blue mug of coffee or whatever color it is, and you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.